education in its new curriculum. So in the recent or in the older curriculum, we've been having history only. We did not have the element of political education. There were two different subjects, but time came and political education was phased out. So, but we thank the curriculum experts, that is the National Curriculum Development Center. It realized the importance of political education, and it was combined with history to form history and political education in Africa. So that's what we are going to be looking at. I've already introduced myself to you. My name is Luwagga Simon Walugembe. So try to look at these pictures or these images on your screen. There is one which is a bit faint. Elijah.
Yes, teacher.
What are you seeing on the screen?
I'm seeing Namirembe Cathedral, and there are two of them from 1920s and today.
1920s and
today.
Which image looks better?
Of today.
Of today. So that is history. So this was in Namirembe in the 1920s. But today you have a new or a different Namirembe. But history is there. Now that has been the journey of the Church of Uganda from the 1920s up to date, where you have, or where we have a nice looking cathedral. So that is history. Thank you so much for viewing that. Now, a question goes to you, my dear, dearest learners. What is history? What is history? What is history, members? Yes, Isabella.
History is the study of the past and present events that helps to interpret and predict the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Isabella, for that wonderful answer. I can see Tendo has a hand up. Tendo.
History is the study of past events in relation to the future.
Study of past
events in relation to the future.
In relation to the future. Thank you very much. Yes, there is something I'm noting about the definitions. Someone else to try out. Any other trial? Jovio?
History is the study of past events.
History is the study of past events. Wonderful. So members, all the definitions are correct. But one thing or two things I've noted in the definitions, there is the study of the past events. Someone talked of the present, then the third thing is the future. So meaning that if we deal with history, or if you are dealing with history, the past has to be there, the present, and also look at the future. Thank you very much, members, for those attempts. Let me also bring my definition. And I'll ask Elijah to read that definition on the screen.
History is a discipline that records and interprets past and present events involving human beings to shape the future.
Okay, thank you, Elijah. The definition is telling us that it is a discipline that records and interprets past and present events involving human beings to shape the future. There is an element of interpreting the past and the present. You look at the past Then you look at the present in order to determine the future. But remember, history rotates around the human beings. Human beings to make this history. Now, let me tell you, in your villages or in your localities, whenever they used to tell you that now when you see the numerous clouds in this direction, let's say in the north, expect rain at any time. So today, if you look at those clouds, in that very direction, we expect rain at any time. Simply say, neighbors, let us organize and enter. Let us enter all the things it's going to rain. That is history. You interpret the past, you look at the present in order to shape the future. We've been looking at these two cathedrals, Namirembe Cathedral of 1920s and Namirembe Cathedral of today. So these people who constructed, the planners of the Church of Uganda, who planned the construction of this new or this modern cathedral, had to look at this cathedral of 1920s in order to improve on the design or to shape the future of Namirembe. So even ourselves, we interpret the past and the present in order to shape the future. So thank you very much, members. Yes, thank you. Smith also had a definition that the study of past events, comparing them with the present to predict the future. Wonderful. Okay, let us proceed, members, and go on. We saw, as we introduced history and political education, that history and political education is formed by two disciplines. So two disciplines were combined in order to form that subject, history and political education. Now we have political education. You've defined history. Now what is political education? Tendo. Tendo, your hand is up. Okay, Namato Fausta, what is political education?
Political education is the study of governance and leadership in an area.
Thank you very much. So Namatov understands the term political education as the study of governance and leadership in an area. Thank you, Namatov. Then Tendo, Joy.
Political education is the study of government policies and politics.
Okay, thank you, Tendo. The study of government policies and politics. Thank you, Tendo, for that wonderful definition. Any other attempt? Isaac, are you trying? Any other trial? Okay. Thank you, Tendo, for that wonderful trial. So let us also look at the definition of political education. All your definitions are very right. Yes, the study of art about leadership and governance in a society. That is Smith. Thank you very much for that definition. Yes, Smith has defined using the chat room or the chat. And now political education. What is it? Here it says, anyone to read for me? Let me pick Isabella.
Political education is defined as formal civic education reserved for the organization system of schooling to prepare future citizens for Participation in public life.
Thank you, Isabella. Yes, they are telling us that political education is defined as a formal civic education reserved for the organized system of schooling to prepare future citizens for participation in public life. But we are seeing another problem in our definition. There is this issue of civic education. We are defining political education, now we are bringing in civic education. Is there any learner who knows the meaning of civic education? Anybody who can try out civic education, its meaning? According to you, what could be the meaning of civic education? Because we want to understand that term political education and that term civic education. Is there any trial? Birungi. Birungi. Birungi, unmute and tell us. I know you do have the answer for that civic education. Jovio. Jovio.
Teacher, I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Isabella, could you be knowing?
I don't have a clue.
You don't have a clue. Okay.
Yes.
Elijah. Elijah,
Yes, teacher.
could you be knowing? Can you try to let us know the meaning of civic education?
I'm not sure.
Okay, you're not sure, but tell us what you know. Then there is, I'll quote Philip in the chat. I am unfamiliar with it. I am unfamiliar with civic education. Okay, let's look at that civic education. Now, members, this civic education means the study of the theoretical, political, and practical aspects of citizenship. Simply means the study of the theoretical, political, and practical aspects of citizenship, as well as its duties and rights, or the duties and rights for the citizens. Like you've been telling me that the study of politics, leadership, among others. Yes, when you look at the theoretical, political, and the practical aspects of citizenship, all there is politics, the leadership is there. So that is the meaning of civic education. You can talk of the rights and duties of the citizens. So they are telling us that it is reserved for the organized system of schooling. You must undergo school, you must go through schools, you must go to school in order to get these elements of political education, or to understand that political education, in order to be prepared for future citizenship, or to prepare you as future citizens to participate in the public life. And hope you do understand the public life, these day-to-day aspects of life, to participate in the economy, to participate in politics, all the sectors in the country. So that is political education. Then someone has said being connected with town or city. Thank you for that trial. Okay, so members, we've looked at the definitions of history and political education. Thank you so much for those contributions. Yes, let us look at this picture on our screen. What is it? Who can describe this picture? Let me look for someone who hasn't said anything. Who is Levin and Abigail? What are you seeing on the screen? Unmute and tell us.
A parliamentary session.
The parliamentary session. Is it the parliament of Kenya, Uganda, Britain, or?
So Uganda.
It is Uganda. Thank you very much. What I know people have already identified the right honorable speaker. Then people have already identified this gentleman on the floor, who is the former Prime Minister, Dr. Uganda. So now this is the center of the Ugandan politics. All the policies are passed by this parliament. Are we at members? So as history learners, we are nurturing you, we are preparing you to become future parliamentarians. We will be glad to hear that the pioneers of Senior.org did join the August House of the Parliament of Uganda. You will make us proud. Okay, let us proceed, members. Now there is a relationship between history and political education. What connects the two? You've given me the definitions of history. You've defined political education. Now, what is the relationship between those two? What connects the two, according to you? Any trial? These two elements must be related, but what connects the two? What is the relationship between the two? History and the political education. Of course, Philip. Yes, there is a hand.
They both talk about the past.
They talk about the past. Thank you very much for expressing your views. Someone else?
They both deal with humanity and have relationship with society in terms of social, political, and economic setup.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful answer. Yes, any other trial? Okay. Thank you, dearest learners. Now, the relationship between history and political education, you cannot separate history from political education, and you cannot separate political education from history. These two are related. Now, history provides a background for political education. It provides that background. Due to the fact that history is dealing with humanity, history is dealing with the past and the present. Of course, even political education is based on the two in order to predict the future. Now, history is about the past and present events. History is about the past and present events. While political education has much of civics and current events, has much of civics. Now this word, we define the civic education, then here they are talking of civics, then current events. Can you give me, or can you try to give me the meaning of civics? Of course, you know the current events, but could you be knowing the meaning of civics? We define the civic education. Now tell me about the meaning of civics. Anyone to try? Yes, Juanita, Joel.
Civics means the rights and duties of a citizen.
Very good, wonderful. That civics deal with the study of the rights and duties of citizenship, the duties and rights of the citizens. Thank you so much, Joel, for that definition. Yes, I can see another hand. Okay, so the civics deal with the duties and rights of the citizens in a country. Now members, you've told me of the duties and rights. Do you know some of the rights of the citizens? Now some are citizens by birth, registration. Do you know some of your rights? Okay, Isabella.
A right to freedom of speech.
A right to freedom of speech. Thank you, Isabella. Then I have Tendo Joy.
A citizen should have a right to elections.
A right to elections. Thank you, Okot Philip.
Right to go to school. Right to education.
Right to education. Thank you very much. Jovio.
A right to worship.
A right to worship. Thank you very much. Mirembe. Shivan.
A right to medical care.
A right to medical care. Thank you very much. Jovio.
A right to association.
A right to association. Then there is Babirie, Marion. Marion. Then Marion. Alice. Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, teacher. A right to freedom of speech.
The right to freedom of speech. So thank you very much, members, for those contributions. So we are saying that political education has much of civics and current events. When we talk of current events, the current governments, the elections, those are current events. You can talk of security, the political economy, among others. So that is the relationship that history provides the background for political education. History deals with the past and the present, then political education comes in with much of civics and the current events, of which the civics and the current events are instrumental in the history of mankind. Okay, dear members. Yes, we are moving on. Thank you. Now let's go and look at the reasons for studying history and political education. Why are you studying history and political education? Yes, Elijah has told us that a right to movement. Thank you, Elijah. So members, the reasons for studying history. And let me start with Babirie Marion. Babirie, unmute and give us your answer. Isabella?
To know the past and present events in order to interpret the future.
Thank you very much, Isabella. That to know the past and present events in order to determine or predict the future. Thank you for that contribution. Marion, hope you're set now. Let us go to Philip or Dutch.
It helps to understand how society works, their political, social, and economic way of life.
Come again.
It helps us to understand how society works, their political, social, and economic ways of life.
Understand how the society manages the political, social, and economic way of life. Thank you very much. Marion. Members, please give us the reasons as to why history is studied. Yes, Juanita has told us in the chat that the study of history helps political analysts to plan for the people. Political analysts to plan for the people. Yes, that is Juanita helps political analysts to plan for people. Tendo Joy.
It helps in career choices, for example, lawyers, administrators, and
yes, thank you very much, Tendo. Career options, lawyers, who else?
Administrators.
Yes, and don't forget also to talk of facilitators. You know, in this new curriculum, teachers are referred to as facilitators. Yes, career options, lawyers, teachers or facilitators. You go to the religious leaders, among others. They do know a lot of history. Birungi. Birungi. Unmute Andy.
To know where a man originated from.
Yes, to know where man originated from, to know the origins of man. Thank you very much for that contribution, where we came from. Juanita.
It helps to develop our critical thinking skills.
So, someone with the noise, Birungi, try to unmute. Try to unmute. Juanita, come again.
It helps to develop our critical thinking skills.
To develop our critical thinking skills. Historians are great thinkers. Thank you, Juanita Joel. Marion. Marion. Tendo Joy.
It helps us to know the past contributions and failures of man.
The past
contributions and the failures of man.
Failures of man. Thank you. Amirembe, Shivan.
Teacher, what if I said it helps to know more about the past?
To know more about the past. Thank you, but thank you for that contribution. But already they told us to know our past. I think it is the same. To know our past. Are you getting it? So that is the point. The point is, yes, we look at, we know our past through the study of history and political education. Juanita has another contribution.
I just forgot my hand up.
Okay. And I think even Babiri and Marion forgot the hand up. Okay, let me also share some of the reasons as to why we do study history and political education. We study history and political education because of the following. One, to understand our past. You have that point, you've already given me that point. We study the past and the present in order to predict the future. Then talk about to appreciate the different cultures. So, members, before we proceed, let us visit the chart. There are some contributions there. What Philip has told us that to understand the causes of human development, civilization, and predict how society will continue to develop in the future. Thank you, Philip. Okay, now to understand our past is done, appreciate different cultures. So members, remember the East African region is a multicultural society. So in the history, we are exposed to different cultures. And each culture has gotten unique features. Someone please unmute. Okay, let us proceed. And I've been telling you that we do have different cultures, and each culture has those unique features. Now, through the study of history and political education, we appreciate the different features, the different cultures, sorry. Now, the Baganda have their culture. When you go to the Banyankole, have a different culture. When you go to the Banyoro, they have a culture different from that of the Baganda. When you go to Tanzania, the Nyamwezi, when you go to Kenya, those are different cultures. So history helps us to appreciate those cultures. Okay, Babirie has a hand. Marion. Okay, Marion forgot the hand up. And then another reason as why we study history, to know the nation's history. To know the nation's history, where we've come from. Now look at Uganda. Before the coming of the colonialists, that was history. How Uganda was organized, the societies that existed. Now from there, the colonialists came in. Look at the various developments. Look at the governments that have ruled Uganda. So we come to know the nation's history through the study of history and political education. Then there are some reasons continued to create a sense of identity. Now through the history, mainly the first chapter, the first topic, understanding about our past. If I ask you, if I ask one of us here, Christine, what is your name and where do you come from? Christine, unmute and answer that quickly. Christine, are you there? Then let me go to Ellis. Unmute and tell us what is your name and where do you come from?
My name is Nambazira Ellis. I come from Luwero.
You come from Luwero. Then Luwero, which village?
Luima in Katikamu.
In Katikamu. Okay. Now, through the study of history, we get a sense of identity because there is finding or looking at our areas, the history of our areas. Now, Ellis has told us from Luwero, Luima village, that is Katikamu. So if someone else comes that are also from Katikamu, then that sense of identity is revealed. Then through looking at the cultures, people, there is a way the Baganda look at their lineage. My name is Walugembe, I come from this clan, my great ancestors. So someone else can come in that, we are from the same clan. We are sharing a totem. So that is a sense of identity. Then nationality, that I'm a Ugandan. People, you can parade people there and you identify that this one must be Kenyan, a Sudanese, a Ugandan. So that is a sense of identity. You know those features that distinguish people. Then to impart nationalism. I would ask you members, what is the meaning of this term, nationalism? What is the meaning of nationalism? Isabella, yes, Babile Marian, the hand is up. Okay, Waninda.
Nationalism is one's proud and willingness to sacrifice for his country.
One who's proud and willingness to sacrifice for the country. Thank you, Waninda. Christine. Christine?
Yes, teacher.
Nationalism meaning?
Nationalism is one whose love and pride for his or her country.
Okay, thank you very much for those definitions. Levin and Abigail.
Nationalism is a patriotic feeling or belief in political independence for a particular country.
Okay, thank you very much. All the answers you've given are correct. Nationalism, that is strong love and feeling the readiness to sacrifice for one's country to support its political, social, and economic independence, to impart nationalism. When we let you know, or through the study of history, you'll discover, you'll find out where Uganda came from, where East Africa came from. Then, of course, through the study of that history, you develop that sense of fighting or defending your country in all spheres. You defend it politically, socially, and economically. That's why some people pick up guns in order to fight for their countries. Then, another reason is to promote critical thinking. Someone talked about it. Through the analysis of historical data, historical facts, information about history, history grooms critical thinkers. That is why some legislators are good at arguing. But you find out that those who build strong arguments were history learners. So you find those legislators who are good at arguing. You find those lawyers, they have that background of history and political education. Then the last reason to know the current world. Like we looked at the other church, the world, where the world has come from. You look at, for example, when you go to the vehicles, the first vehicles to be used. You look at the scenario where we did not have any road, people used to penetrate through impassable forests. You look at the activities that used to take place in the 1800, 1900 up to date. You come to know the world better. So those are some of the reasons as to why we study history. So now members, that background or that introduction to history still takes us further to look at the senior one history content outline. It is senior one history and political education content outline. Going to add that. So we do have our syllabus, the one we are supposed to follow. So in senior one, we do have one theme. But that theme has 9 chapters. That's what we are going to look at. Now, dear members, let me ask you, what do you expect to look at in the study of history and political education? What do you expect to look at? What are some of the chapters or topics you expect in senior 1? Yes? Is there anyone? Okot.
Sources of history.
Yes, Okot is interested in knowing the sources of history. Thank you very much. Juanita.
Origin of man.
The origin of man. Yes, thank you, Juanita. Juanita would like to know his origin since he's a man. Then there is Birungi.
Colonial rule in East Africa.
Colonial rule in East Africa. Thank you, Birungi. Birungi is interested in the colonial rule. Yes, Christine. Christine. Levin. Levin and Abigail, unmute and tell us.
Response to the establishment of colonial rule in East Africa.
Response to the establishment of colonial rule in East Africa. Thank you very much. Big Smith.
The scramble and partition of East Africa.
The scramble and partition of East Africa. Thank you. Yes, Okot. Philip.
The response of the people during the colonial rule in Africa.
Oh, thank you very much. The response of the people to colonial rule. How they responded to that rule. Let me check in the chat. Jovio, colonial in Africa. Okay, thank you very much, Jovio. But in this study or in this discipline or in this subject, we shall concentrate on the colonial rule in East Africa, but not in the whole of Africa. We are looking at that subcontinent of East Africa. Okay, thank you, Jovio. Still, Jovio is interested in the colonial rule. Juanita, is there any other area of interest?
Migration and settlement into East Africa.
Migration and settlement into East Africa. How people migrated and how they ended up settling into East Africa. Christine.
Teacher.
Yes.
The long distance trade.
The long distance trade. Christine is interested in carrying out trade. Must be or will be a future business lady. Okay, thank you very much, members, for those expectations. Yes, in our study in senior 1, the senior 1 syllabus, all those chapters, all those topics are present. We are going to look at those topics. Now, members, here we are saying we have one theme, only one theme with 9 chapters. Then theme 2, we shall look at theme 2 when we go to senior 2 class. Now, you can call these chapters or they can be topics. You can either use chapters or topics. If you find a topic, if you find a chapter, don't be confused. A chapter means topic. So now let us go and look at theme 1. Theme 1 in the new curriculum is understanding our past. Understanding our past. So these people, the curriculum developers, that is the National Curriculum Development Center, decided to start with understanding our past. And we need to know our past before we look at the future. So that is our theme in senior 1. Let us go to the first chapter. Chapter 1. finding out about our past. Let me ask a member to read for us. Elijah. Elijah, unmute.
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Finding out about our past, sources of history, primary sources, secondary sources, scientific sources.
Scientific sources. Thank you very much, Elijah. Yes, the reason as to why I'm picking at random, I want to find out whether people are following. I don't want to teach myself in this lesson. So now, finding about our past, and when we're finding about our past, sources have to be there. Now, what are the sources of history? They've told us primary sources, secondary sources, and scientific sources. Is there any individual or any learner who can give us examples of the primary sources? Primary sources of history. Can see Ellis is very ready. Ellis, you're ready to give us an example of a primary source. Yes, Waninda.
Oral history.
Oral history. And what is oral history? Waninda.
Oral history is the type of history passed through generations using words from the mouth.
Using words from the mouth. Thank you very much, Waninda. Isabella.
Archaeology.
Archaeology. Thank you very much. Now, is the archaeology part of the primary sources members? Do we have archaeology under the primary sources? Mirembe, are you trying to answer that? Shivan?
Written history.
Written history. Thank you very much. Elijah?
Music and plays.
Music and plays. Okay, thank you very much for the contributions. Yes, under the primary sources, you've said that oral history is there. All these, the secondary and the scientific sources, depend on the primary sources. Here, history was passed on through the word of mouth from generation to generation. Those past stories, like when we come to the story of Chintu, the first Muganda. Up to now, they do tell us those stories, and we do narrate those stories. In the chat, there is anthropology. Okay, thank you, Okot. So, oral is under the primary sources. Then we go to secondary sources of history. Then here, we can have the written sources, and we can have here linguistics. And what is linguistics, members? What is linguistics, Christine?
Yes, teacher.
Define linguistics.
Linguistics is the study of languages.
Study of languages. Very correct. So we do have those here. Written sources, linguistics, and the secondary sources. Then we do have our scientific sources. And here, Isabella gave us archaeology. Isabella, what is archaeology?
Archaeology is the study of the remains of early man.
The remains of early man. So scientific, we use the scientific evidence, the scientific findings in order to generate historical facts. Thank you, Isabella. Then in the chat, someone mentioned of anthropology. And what is anthropology, members? Yes, or what? Philip?
Anthropology is the study of culture of various ethnic groups.
The study of culture or cultures of the various ethnic groups. Thank you very much. So anthropology is based on the study of the various cultures. Still under scientific. Then also, yes, or what? The hand is still up.
I just forgot.
Okay. So now scientific sources, we looked at archaeology, anthropology, then you can also look at botany. Botany is all about studying the plant species. Then there is also zoology, the study of the animal, and the study about animals. So those are some of the scientific sources. Then one does talk of the carbon dating. Very right. Still under scientific sources. Okay, members, thank you so much. That's what we are going to look at in chapter 1, to use those sources to find out about our past. Then let us go and look at, or let us go to chapter 2, which is vigorous me. Read for us. Smith, are you there? Are you following? I neighbor was Patricia. Unmute and read what is on the screen. I neighbor was Jovio.
Chapter 1. Finding out about our past. Sources of history. Primary history. Primary sources. Secondary sources. Scientific sources.
Jovio, read what is on the screen. Jovio. We are done with chapter 1. Yes, read what is on the screen. Chapter 1 is done. Let us go to chapter 2.
Teacher, the screen doesn't have anything. It only says chapter 1.
It says chapter 1. Okay. So Elijah. Isabella?
Yes.
Try to read what is on the screen.
Chapter 1, finding out about our past. Sources of history. Primary sources, secondary sources, scientific sources.
Okay. Let us move on and go to chapter 2. That my screen has frozen with network issues. Is it still showing chapter 1?
Yes.
Let me stop sharing and share my screen again. Is it back?
Teacher, it has come back.
It has
Okay.
come.
Okay, thank you. Now let us proceed. Aine Babas. Okay, Jovio, you read for us.
The origin of man. The traditional theory about the origin of man. Theories of human evolution.
Okay, thank you, Jovio. Now, you know some of the traditional theories, some of the stories about the origin of man?
Yes.
Jovio, you know. At least
Yes.
briefly tell us one theory or one story.
The story of King and his wife.
Okay, thank you, Jovio. So members, we do have a lot of stories about the origin of man, where man originated from. Now, if I ask you, you're part of the human beings, Elijah.
Let me bring my.
Yes, teacher.
You know your origin. Elijah?
Yes, teacher.
Tell us about the origin of man. Your origin.
Where you were originated from.
Elijah? Elijah, don't feel shy to tell us. Members, feel free to express your views. We are learning. We are learners. I need to learn from you. Isabella.
Yes.
Feel free to share with us your origin.
Origin, you mean like Banyankole, Bachiga, or
Your origin. Your origin. I can't. Yes. Yes. Your origin.
I'm a Munyankole.
Munyankole.
Yes.
Okay, that is your origin. If I ask you, how did the Banyankole come into existence? Can you narrate? You can.
I can't.
You can't. Okay.
Yes.
Now, that's why this new curriculum is unique, and it is a very good curriculum. Now you have to find out about your origin. So you have to ask the parents, the elders, the grandparents to let you know of these stories, or to give you the theories of your origin. So we shall be looking at the stories, the theories of how man came into existence. There are many theories. The traditional theory, you go to the biblical theory of the creation of man in Genesis. So all those are theories. Then we shall also go and look at the theories of human evolution. Now, if we look at human evolution, what do you understand? What do you understand by this term human evolution? Yes? Waninda.
Human evolution is the theory that suggests that organisms gradually develop into different organisms through the process of natural selection, and it also states that man came from an ape and then evolved into a human being.
Okay, thank you very much, Waninda, for that contribution. Okay, based on Waninda's opinion, let us look at this picture on the screen. Hope we are in a position to view what is on that screen. Can we see the screen?
Yes.
There is the history of human evolution. Waninda told us that the organs went about developing from an ape up to a Cro-Magnon, or a man who could speak and carry out his activities. So history has it how man developed from the creatures, from the apes, from the gorillas, from the monkeys into the modern human being. In this study of history, we shall look at those stages of human evolution, from the ape up to the modern human being. And remember, the development of man started in Africa, not in Europe, but in Africa. Archaeology states or confirms it. Human development, human evolution began in Africa. So Africa, or Africans, we have to be proud of ourselves. Let us move on and go to the next chapter, and that is migration and settlement into East Africa since 1000 AD. Still another learner read for us what is on the screen. Evans and Patricia. Evans, unmute and read.
The migration and settlement into East Africa since 1000 AD. The origin of people in your local area. Migration patterns of the major ethnic groups in Uganda and the rest of East Africa. Peopling of East Africa.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, migration and settlement. By the way, members, what is migration? What do you understand by the term migration? I don't know, I need to know. Waninda.
Migration is the movement of people from one place to another looking for better settlement.
Movement of people from one place to another looking for better settlement. Thank you very much, Waninda, for that good contribution. There is any other hand. Seems that you had the same answer with Itapera. So yes, migration is that movement of people from one place to another with their property, that they are with their property looking for better settlement. Yes, that is migration. Yes, this migration, you need to look at the origin of the people in your local area. This time around, we're not going to sing the other people. We shall start with our own people in the local area. Where are you staying and find out their origin? But the old curriculum has not been looking at this, has been neglecting the local people. But you have to start with your people in your area to find out where they originated from. They will be telling you. Are you getting it? And we do keep on migrating each and every time. Okay. And the origin of those people, then the migration patterns of the major ethnic groups. Okay, members, what are some of the major ethnic groups in Uganda and the rest of East Africa? Mirembe, Shivan? Shivan, unmute and tell us.
Bantu.
The Bantu. Thank you. Juanita.
Bantu.
The Luo.
The Luo. Okot Philip.
The Nilotics.
The Nilotics. Then the name Lake. Iveti Luce Lake. I'll learn how to pronounce your name. Give us your opinion. Lucky your network has a problem. Your network is not fine. But thank you. Smith.
The Highland Nilotes.
Highland Nilotes. Isabella.
The Hamites.
The Hamites. Thank you very much for those contributions. Yes, the major ethnic groups, we shall have to look at those groups. You can talk of the Bantu, you talked of the Bantu, you talked of the Luo, they were speaking people, and they were subdivided into numerous groups, and likewise the Bantu were also divided into the various groups. Talk of the Western Bantu, the Central Bantu, among others. So we shall be looking at these people and how they settled into East Africa. And of course, we shall also go to the people of East Africa. So in line with the migration, you can also view this a picture describing an activity. Okay, members, what are you viewing on the screen? So, members?
The migration of people.
The migration of the people. You can see people are moving with their property. Okay, members, let us go to chapter 4. Who can read for us this? The heading of chapter 4. Yes.
Culture and ethnic groups in East Africa.
Culture and ethnic groups in East Africa. Now, yes, we have to look at culture and these ethnic groups. We have to look at cultural values in our families. We have to look at the roles of different people in a culture. When we look at different people, the roles of men, the roles of women, the roles of children. We shall look at cultural institutions in East Africa. You know some of the cultural institutions? The cultural institutions. Now, when we talk of cultural institutions, of course, we'll talk about busy kingdoms that are present in East Africa. Then we shall look at cultural sites in East Africa, ethnic groups in East Africa, then culture as a source of income, culture and entrepreneurship, that side of business. Then the culture camps in East Africa. Culture camps in Uganda or in Uganda, there is that Tisakate organized by Nabagereka. Then East African traditions in conflict resolution. You can also view some of the some of these cultures. Yes, the first image talks of the Chiganda dance. The second shows the Kabako of Uganda and his leaders. You can see the Uganda Premier, which was Peter Maiga, to consider respect for the Kabaka, and this respect for Kabaka is one of the memorable events which is celebrated every year, Kabaka's coronation. Then here they are talking of staple food for Baganda. Okay, let us go to chapter 5. Isabella, read for us.
State formation in East Africa. Formation of pre-colonial societies. Decentralized societies. Nyamwezi society, Bachwezi society, centralized Uganda Kingdom.
Okay, thank you very much, Isabella. Now, members, could you tell me the difference between centralized societies and centralized societies? Very quickly. Yes, Juanita?
Centralized societies are societies who have one ruler, while decentralized societies are societies that the rulers vary from chiefs to elders.
Okay, thank you. But decentralized societies, these societies do not have kings. The principle of equality was considered. You can give an example of the Nyamwezi society, the Bachwezi society. These ones did not have a central figure as a king to manage those people. Councils of elders or councils of chiefs were selected to carry out the administration role. Then in centralized societies, these societies had the central figures. One central figure, such as the king, who was the controller of each and everything in the kingdom, like Uganda Kingdom, which had the Kabaka as the owner of each and everything. Then let us go to chapter 6. Chapter 6. Okot, are you following? Read for us.
Religions in East Africa. Ancient religions in East Africa. Ancient worship. Foreign religions in East Africa. The first foreign religious groups in East Africa.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, members, who knows about this ancient worship? How did these people carry out their worship in those ancient days? Juanita?
The people built shrines to honor their gods, and they did not believe in one god. They believed in various gods according to their jobs. Maybe one god does for them food, another one for war, another one.
Okay, thank you, Juanita. Then Philip?
They carried out rituals.
They carried out rituals. Thank you very much. Then before the coming of these foreign regions, which were brought about by the Arabs and the missionaries, we had that ancient worship. Then foreign regions, which we do have up to date, they came in, but still that ancient worship remained. Then we shall also look at the first foreign religious groups in East Africa. Now here is the image on your screen demonstrating the ancient religions or the ancient worship. This is Mama Pina being reinstated as Chifu Susara. So that is Mama Pina. That is the ancient worship. Then in line with the introduction of the foreign religions, there came our religions today. And on your screen, this is the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda. All the religious affiliations are represented. You can look at Archbishop Dr. Kazimba. Then this is Mufti Mobaje. You can talk of the late Archbishop Cyprian Kizito Luwagga, representing all the religious affiliations. So still we shall have to look at this. Then we go into chapter 7, which is local and external trade contacts to East African communities. We shall look at the pre-colonial trade systems before 1800. Pre-colonial means before the coming of the colonialists. We shall look at the Indian Ocean trade and slavery in East Africa. Then slave trade, and by the members, what is slave trade? What is slave trade? Yes, Isabella?
Slave trade is the buying and selling of human beings.
Thank you very much. Of course, we shall also look at the long distance trade. Here, slave trade in East Africa. That's how these human beings were treated. That's how they were handled. Now that is the trade. They were going to the coast of East Africa. Then we shall also go to chapter 8, which is the scramble for and colonization of East Africa. We shall look at the reasons for scramble for and partition of East Africa. Then we shall also look at the colonization of East Africa. Now, if I'm to ask you members, who colonized Uganda, Kenya, and Tanganyika? Waninda?
The British.
Colonized? Okay. In the first place, the British colonized Uganda and Kenya. Then Tanganyika was colonized by German. But after the First World War, still Tanganyika became a mandated colony, and it was taken over by Britain. And then chapter 9, we shall look at the response to the establishment of the colonial rule in East Africa, the concept of colonization and resistance. There are those who collaborated, there are those who resisted the colonial rule. They had reasons, and you will have to find out the reasons for collaboration and resistance. You can see this picture of the colonial rule in East Africa. The colonial masters were trying to brief the colonized people. Okay, members, so that is the coverage, or those are the topics we are going to look at in senior 1. Now, ways of learning in history lessons. Members, we shall have group discussions. We shall have presentations. You will have to present your findings. We shall have research work. Various activities are there. You will go carry out research and present your findings. Field trips are there. Project work is also there, like writing. We need to, or history has to groom future authors or writers. Then there is also drama and role play. You can act as the Semei Kakunguru and extend the colonial rule. Then we shall go to the school-based assessment, the mode of assessment, how the facilitators will know whether the learning outcomes have been achieved. There is class-based assessment. We have a lot of activities in the history learner books. Those activities shall be assessed. Then, of course, there is the activity of integration. Now, this activity of integration shall carry 20%, where we are not going to have exams, members, end of term exams, beginning of term exams. In your curriculum, in the new curriculum, examinations are not there. We shall be looking at activities of integration, the activities you do in the learner books, and they'll contribute 20%, maybe at the end of your cycle. Then the end of the cycle assessment. Now, the end of the cycle we are talking about, it is the end of the 4 years course. In senior 4, UNEB assessment shall carry 80%. Then the 20% is the other activities we do from senior 1 up to senior 4. Then UNEB will give you the 80%. That is the end of cycle assessment. And I'm glad that my fellow facilitators have already taken you through this. Then the activity of integration. What is it? Simply, this activity of integration is a checkpoint for measuring level of learner achievement in a chapter in line with the competency. So now every chapter, at the end of a chapter, expect the activity of integration. And it will contribute 20%, and this is what we call the SBA. Don't call it the sports betting Africa. It is the school-based assessment. So that's it. And now, recording assessment scores. Learners' scores will be recorded as follows. So members, in history, like any other subject, history and political education, you're not going to see the 90s, you're not going to see 80s, 100, you're not going to see distinctions. But we have the standard grading, and the highest mark is a 3, a 2, or 1. That is how your scores will be recorded. No 80s, no 90s. This is the standard. Scale, or the grading scale that was agreed upon by the National Curriculum Development Center. Then, members, we are going to have an activity. Request your parent or guardian to help you identify an elder and ask him or her about the past. After telling you about the past, you're going to sit down. You're going to write down one story that the elders told you about the past. And after, you'll send your work to the Google Classroom. So members, this brings us to the end of today's orientation to history and political education. I take this opportunity to thank the initiators or the proprietors of senior1.org. Indeed, it is a blessing to us because there is no any other platform apart from senior1.org that is guiding the senior one in this new curriculum. And I do thank you members for joining. Thank you so much for the contributions, your attention. I wish you well. Hope there is not any question. Now allow me to hand over the microphone to my fellow facilitator, Priscilla.